Welcome to Ueno, but not the Ueno in Tokyo. This is in the middle of nowhere, but it's a very nice place. You should try visiting someday. Anyways, the reason why I'm in the countryside is to finally drive a hero car from my college days, which is the EK9 Honda Civic Type R. My roommate and I used to play a lot of Gran Turismo 4, and he was very passionate about the EK9 Honda Civic Type R, and a lot of that rubbed off on me. So there's kind of a lot of hype about this car because these are known for kind of that raw, peak Honda Type R era with the amazing B16B high revving engine, and these are just legendary cars, so I was very happy to finally get my hands on one. But as with everything, there's a lot of hype in your head from when you're younger. So the question is, does this car live up to the hype? Alright, so this is the inside of the EK9 Civic Type R. It's very 90s Honda in here. All the materials have a bit of a cheap touch to them, but for a car that's been around for, what is it, 7 years, it's held up really nicely. I mean, obviously the steering wheel is covered in the thing that you wrap tennis rackets with and everything, but it's an old car, and amazingly, this car has 451,000 kilometers on it, and it's still driving. It really lets you know just how amazing these Honda VTEC engines are in terms of durability. Anyways, inside this car, it's standard Honda Civic hatch. It's very spacious in here, despite the car being tiny. Got loads of headroom. I can wear like a Pope hat in here. The reason I have lots of headroom is probably because these Recaro seats are quite low, so my eye line's barely above the steering wheel, so it's kind of interesting driving around town, not really being able to see where you're going. But that's part of the whole Type R race car experience, is the low bucket seats. Overall, it's quite comfy in here. The seats are torn up, but they're still very supportive. I'd say they're comfortable, but I'm getting old and my back has started to hurt after driving this for a while. It could just be I'm not used to these seats. Okay, setting off in the Civic Type R. Now, I'm pretty sure these came with power steering, but this car doesn't have power steering, and my god, it's heavy. So I'm going to start from the parking lot just to show you what happens here. So you set off, and then you turn, and you really have to give it some go. But once you're moving, it's not so heavy. But the slower you go, the heavier this thing is. Now, I know there's a lot of people out there that think, that's wonderful, no power steering equals more steering feel. Sure, but I kind of like power steering now. Anyways, once you're finally on the move, the thing that really comes alive is that B16B engine. It revs to about 8,500 glorious RPM, and this car has an aftermarket exhaust on it, so it's extra irritating when you rev it. Now, a lot of people say that this car is actually not that fast. It has no torque and it's gutless low down. It could be I just live in Japan and there's a lot of low power cars here. Even at low RPMs, this thing pulls, and then once that VTEC kicks in, yep, it takes off, and this car really lives up to the hype just from that VTEC rush. So aside from the engine, what else is notable about this car when you drive? Well, the lack of power steering. Like I said, I think it's been deleted. This car feels really vague off-center. Like, you can do this and the car won't turn at all. But once you really get up to speed and enter a sharper corner, wow, this thing weights up. I'd like to say it gives good feedback, but it just gets incredibly heavy, so I'm not really sure if that's feedback or not. I do feel like my NC Miata has better steering, but it could also just be because it has working power steering. I'm not really sure which it is. So, I've heard that these Civic Type Rs have incredibly rock-hard suspension, and they're incredibly loud, and they're not livable for daily driving. I agree. This car is hilariously loud, but it does have an aftermarket exhaust. I don't know how loud these are stock, but you wouldn't want to drive this on a long-distance cruise for sure. The suspension is rock hard, but it's not as bad as I thought it was going to be. Like, this is completely tolerable. It's not like high school kids in the 90s in America Civic type of hardness. It's just, okay, this is sporty and reasonable. So overall, this is a very livable car, but given my daily drive is a stock Miata, this is definitely a lot more hardcore. So I threw this car around a twisty, tight mountain road a minute ago, and the handling of this car is jaw-droppingly good. I knew these old Type Rs had really good handling, but this was just on a different level than what I was expecting. This was, I think, one of the last generations of Civics that had double wishbone front suspension, multi-link rear, very just solid suspension setups. And yeah, this car handles incredibly go-kart well, but it does feel very front-wheel drive. I'm used to driving my Miata, which is rear-wheel drive. This definitely drives different and requires a different technique to get around the corners quickly, but it's fun in its own different way. So if you plan on buying one of these cars, I don't recommend it as a daily driver, but as like a weekend fun toy, wow, what a toy. This is so raw and engaging compared to a modern car that I kind of want one, even though I can't afford a second car. Would I trade my NC Miata for this? Of course not. That's livable with every day. This is just something you like to enjoy every now and then. But when you do enjoy it every now and then, it's so fun. There's just something about these older cars. They have this magic and joie de vivre that newer cars just lack. Like, as a car, as a package, I think this is terrible. But as an experience, it's unbeatable. And it's something that I really do love. And I love how ratty this specific car is, and the fact that it has 450,000 kilometers on it. There's something very endearing about this car, and I sure hope the owner takes good care of this, because if he doesn't, I'm really tempted to just go into debt and just make sure someone's taking care of this car, because these cars are disappearing from the planet, and they just bring so much weird joy. Like, I've been driving around in this and I feel like I'm 16 again, and then you'll just pass by people, rev the engine, be a complete ass, and just smile about it, and just like, I can't believe I'm old and doing this. But this car really brings you back to those youthful days, and it's just so much fun. For those of you out there, if you ever get a chance to drive one of these old Civic Type Rs or an Integra Type R, just these old 90s Hondas, go do it. It's such a fun experience. But maybe don't do it, because you might wind up wanting a car that's just not livable with every day. Thanks for watching.